So for my enrichment project, I watched Pose, and Pose is about gay people and transgender people, specifically black gay people and transgender folks. And the transgender folks that I encountered in the show were male to female, meaning like at birth they were assigned male and then they are now female. And there were two things that came up in the show that are things that it's like I knew about them, but I never really like thought about them in detail. And one of those was this concept of passing, right? And we've learned about white passing um, in class, and like I knew about it before. And so passing wise, that's kind of what I think of. But this was they are passing as women. They are women, but like, sometimes when you transition, you just like look more masculine, I guess, which is fine because there are masculine women in this world. But in this, the main character, Bianca, is, I guess, deemed not passing. And I mean, to me, she is, and she's a woman, so it doesn't matter in the first place. But moving on, she is like referred to as like a monster and cross-dresser and like all of these horrible things. And it's almost like there's a hierarchy within their community. So one of the big thing that they do is they go to these, they're called balls. And it's basically a drag show, but like before drag was a thing. And like there are like men who like will walk. And like there's like a hierarchy in this like culture, and it's like whoever is like passing, it's almost like higher. There's another character named Electra, and she is passing, and that is talked about a lot when she is referred to. They call her like a real woman and like beautiful and all this kind of stuff, and she uses it as like social capital to like put herself above others. And I thought that was really, really interesting because I've never thought about like passing when it comes to being transgendered. And that's probably something that's actually like very like if you're deemed to not be passing, it's probably very like detrimental to yourself because people probably bring it up like all the time and like use it against you. And like one of the things that I read for my literature was about these two women who in the 80s are transgender, and they are passing, and it lets them hide more, because it's like they don't really have to like acknowledge that they're transgender because they already pass. And that was also another thing that it's like, when you haven't transitioned yet, you're hiding that you're transgender, and then it's like you transition and you're still hiding that you're transgendered. So it's like you finally get to like be the person that you feel inside, but then it's like you can't even really like share your whole identity. And that was like very eye-opening for me. And the other thing that really struck me was the lack of like community within just the gay community at this time, and like intersectionality. So there's a couple scenes where Bianca goes to a gay bar and it's all men, and she is asked to leave because she's transgender, and they like say that she's mentally ill. They call her like sir and ma'am and Mr. and dude. Like they are very they discredit her identity like completely. And then she protests it, and she keeps coming back, and it's on like she's using privilege that she doesn't really have. In this class we talk about like use your privilege to protest the injustices, and she's using privilege that she doesn't even have, which is super inspiring. But she keeps going back and protesting and saying like, I deserve to be served, I deserve to be treated like everybody else. And there like comes a point where they like forcibly like grab her and like throw her out into the street. And that was really shocking to me because it's like the gay community, this gay bar has found like a community for themselves where they can be safe, but it's like they won't even let in everybody in that community. And so like, this takes place in the 80s, so it's like this, concept of intersectionality wasn't a thing. And those were the two things I learned the most.